alternative view. This is called prototypical concepts. Prototypical concept is a base concept defined by some typical properties that can sometimes be overridden. So an example is a chair. You and I have a notion of a prototypical chair. Our notion of a prototypical chair may have, for example, that it has a back, it has 4 legs, and so on. So here might be your and my notion of a prototypical chair. It has a back, it has a seat, it has 4 legs, and so on. Now I can represent this notion of prototypical chair in the language of frames. This is something we have come across earlier in the class. A frame has slots and fillers, as you may recall, and we use frames to represent stereotypes. Here we're talking about prototypes, so very closely related. So concept is the content we're going to represent. Frame is the form in which we're going to represent it. So a notion of prototypical chair might be it has 4 legs, the material is a metal, it has a back, it does not have arms, and it's not cushioned. Note that these are the typical properties of a chair. Of course, some chairs need not necessarily satisfy all of these properties. That is why there are no necessary and sufficient conditions here. For example, we may come across a chair which is made of wood. Well, we would still consider it a chair even if it did not strictly satisfy this particular definition. Thus, these properties can be overridden in case of specific instances, but we will still have the basic notion of a prototype of a chair so that we can in fact communicate with each other about what a chair is. Despite the fact that we can override these properties, we do still have a notion of prototypical chair. So the relationship between concepts and frames actually is quite close. Recall that when we were talking about frames, we were also talking about inheritance and default. The notion of default in frames is closely connected to the notion of typical properties in concepts. So chair has this prototypical notion with some of these typical properties, and we can think of this as having a default values. But default, we assume the number of legs is 4, the material is metal, and so on. Here is a stool, and this stool is a kind of chair, which means that it inherits all the values and all the slots that are there in the chair directly, except for those that happen to be different from the one in the chair. So as an example here, it overrides the notion that the chair necessarily has to have a back. In the case of a stool, the stool does not have a back.
Hello, and thank you so much for viewing this presentation on homonyms, homophones, and homographs. This has been updated for 2019. Homonyms are words that share the same spelling and same pronunciation, but different meanings. Again, same spelling, same pronunciation, but different meanings. For example, scale the fish. Weigh the fish on the scale. In the first sentence, scale is a verb meaning to scale or to cut or remove the fins and the skin from the fish, to cut that away. In the second sentence, scale is a noun, which is a device that measures weight. So you put the fish on the scale, which is a noun. So notice that they both have the same spelling. You pronounce them the same, but they have different meanings, and this is what makes them homonyms. Here are some examples of homonyms, and the best way to learn them is just to read and find multiple examples. Bear, a large animal. Bear, to support. Spruce is a tree, but spruce as a verb means to make neat or tidy. Fly is an insect, but fly as a verb means to ascend or to move upward. Tip is a pointed end, but when you tip as a verb, you give money. Sole, the bottom of a shoe, that's a noun. Sole, the only one, which can be an adjective. Okay, let's talk about homophones. Homophones are words that are pronounced the same but have different spellings and different meanings. Again, same pronunciation, different spelling, different meanings, as in sun and sun. Sun, S-U-N, is a big ball of gas, fiery gas in the sky. But son is a male child when it's spelled S-O-N. Again, same pronunciation, sun, sun, different spellings, S-U-N-S-O-N, and different meanings. Got it? Okay, let's move on. Here are some examples of homophones. Scent, which is a smell. Cent, 1 penny. Again, they are pronounced the same, but they are spelled differently, and they have different meanings. Two, excessive. Two, which is a number. Counsel, a group of people, and counsel, a verb which means to give advice. Birth means giving life, and birth as a noun means space. Okay, so let's review homonyms and homophones. Homonyms have the same spelling, the same pronunciation, but different meanings. Homonyms are also called lookalikes. Homophones have the same pronunciation, different spellings, different meanings, and they are called sound-alikes. Okay, so here's the addition to the 2019 lecture on homonyms and homophones, which are homographs. Homographs are words that share the same spelling, different pronunciation, and different meanings. Again, homographs, same spelling, different pronunciation, different meanings. For example, record, which is a musical disc that you play to hear sound, and record, which means to write down. They are spelled the same. They are pronounced differently, record and record, and they have different meanings. These are homographs. Here are some examples of homographs. Dove, a bird. Dove means to move downward or to descend. Again, they are spelled exactly the same, but they are pronounced differently and they have different meanings, and that is why they are homographs. Close, to be near. Close, to shut. Bow, a decoration. Bow, to bend. Escort, a companion. Escort, to attend or to go with someone. Hopefully this presentation has been helpful to you. I cover homonyms, homographs, and homophones in Chapter 9 of the Good Grammar Workbook for Adult Learners. It's good for learners of all ages, whether you are in middle school, high school, college, and beyond, or if you have not been to school in a while and you want to brush up on your grammar. This book includes the foundation of everything you will need to begin to write well, and you can build from here once you complete the book. It's a large workbook with so many great explanations and exercises. So if you like my videos, you will definitely love the book. It's available on lulu.com and amazon.com. Just go to my website for ordering information. Again, thank you so much and happy learning.
What is a metaphor? A metaphor is one of many types of figurative language. You can learn more about figurative language at figurative-language.com. We offer free printable worksheets, resources, test quizzes, projects for teachers and learners about figurative language. Metaphor. Metaphor is a comparison between two different things without using like or as. For example, as William Shakespeare said, all the world is a stage. In this example, the world is being compared to a stage or related to a stage, and we are not using the word like or as to make the comparison. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. One of my favorite Thomas Jefferson quotes. In this example, liberty is being related or compared to a tree, and we are not using the word like or as to make the comparison. Therefore, it is a metaphor. You can learn more about figurative language at figurative-language.com. We have free printable worksheets, projects, and quizzes for teachers and learners.
Hello everybody, my name is Sarah. Are you interested in the topic presupposition and entailment? No problem, I'm going to explain it to you. First of all, the presupposition and entailment are subfields of pragmatics. Presupposition is something the speaker assumes to be the case prior to making an utterance. An example for presupposition is that Sarah's brother Tom, you can see him here, ate 3 chocolate bars. So we presuppose that a person called Sarah exists. She has a brother, she has only one brother, and he likes sweets. Another term that can be associated with presupposition is the constancy under negation. This simply means that a presupposition of a statement remains constant even when the statement is negated. I also have an example for this to show you what I mean. Tom regrets that he ate all 3 chocolate bars before dinner. Tom does not regret that he ate all 3 chocolate bars before dinner. So the presupposition for both statements is that Tom ate 3 chocolate bars before dinner.
There are 6 types of presupposition. The first one is called existential presupposition, which is present in any definite noun phrase. An example would be, the boy next door has a new car. We presuppose a boy next door exists. The second type is factive presupposition. An example of factive presupposition is, I regret leaving the party. I presuppose that I left the party, which is the truth of the information that is stated after the verb regret. Other verbs with factive presuppositions are now, realize, regret, be aware, ought, and glad. Let's go on with the next one, which is lexical presupposition. The use of one form with its asserted meaning is conventionally interpreted with the presupposition that another non-asserted meaning is understood. This can be seen in the following example. Mary stopped skating at weekends. We presuppose that Mary used to skate at weekends. The use of a structure which treats information as presupposed and is accepted as true by the listener are, for example, WH questions. This kind of presupposition is called structural presupposition. When we ask, when did she die? We presuppose that the information after the question is necessarily true. So, she died.
A non-factive presupposition is assumed not to be true. Verbs like dream, imagine, or pretend identify a non-factive presupposition. The example is, I dreamed that I was famous, but I was not famous. The last type of presupposition is called counterfactual presupposition. That means what is presupposed is contrary to facts. For example, if you were happy, you would have smiled. However, at the time of utterance, this is not true. You are not happy. But what about the projection problem? The projection problem is the problem of the presupposition of a simple structure not surviving when part of a more complex structure.
I didn't realize that the tiger is a policeman.
So we presuppose that a tiger is a policeman.
The tiger isn't a policeman. We know that now, because he is a burglar.
So the presupposition that the tiger is a policeman is destroyed, because we know now that he's a burglar. A simple explanation for the fact that the presupposition doesn't project is that they are destroyed entailments. Before we will continue, I have to explain what is meant by entailment. Entailment is something that logically follows from what is asserted in the utterance. So sentences, not speakers, have entailments.
One last step before we complete our tutorial. Ordered entailment is a purely logical concept. A background entailment is any logical consequence of an utterance. I have an example for you. Amy won $5. Any logical consequence would be that someone won $5. Amy did something with $5. Amy won 5 of something. Something happened. The foreground entailment, however, is the main logical consequence of an utterance, which is also more important for interpreting the intended meaning than any other. The main assumption is that Amy won a certain number of dollars. and it cleft functions similar to a foreground entailment. So, if we say it was Amy who won $5, the speaker communicates what he or she believes the listener may already be thinking. And, regarding presupposition and entailment, more is being communicated than is said. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned a lot. If you want to learn more about pragmatics, I can recommend the other tutorials. Just click on the link below.
Clipping, acronymy, blending, and back formation. Clipping. In morphology, clipping is defined as the process in which a word is reduced without changing its meaning. There are 4 types of clipping. Back clipping, in which the beginning is retained. Examples: ad equals advertisement, pop equals popular music. For clipping, in which the final part is retained. Examples: gator equals alligator, phone equals telephone. Middle clipping, in which the middle part is retained. Examples: flu equals influenza, fridge equals refrigerator. Complex clipping. In this type, one part of the original compound usually remains intact. Examples: op art equals optical art, orgman equals organization man. Acronymy is an abbreviation of several words, using in most cases the first letter of each word in the phrase. Example: NOW equals National Organization for Women. Blending is the word formation process in which parts of 2 or more words combine to create a new word. For example, cybernetic plus organism equals cyborg, motor plus hotel equals motel. Back formation is the process of forming a new word by removing affixes from another word, basically making a long word short. For example, babysitter, babysit.
Hi, my name is Putwina Angrenitiastuti and my partners Mediana Suyono and Alivia Sinta Ashari. In this video, we would like to explain about phonemes, phones, and allophones. Some people might still confuse about the difference between phonemes, phones, and allophones. And now we are going to explain about those materials. The first thing that we are going to explain is about phonemes. Phonemes are the symbols that you see on the phonetic chart. They are the smallest phonetic units in a language that are capable of conveying a distinction in meaning. Phonemes are abstract mental representation. It is already stated in our mind, but we don't pronounce it yet. Phonemes are represented with slashes.
Here is the example of phonemes. In the word keep contains of 3 phonemes. They are k, I, and p. The word keep has a meaning which is to have or continue to have in your possession. When we change the k phoneme to the phoneme, it would make the word change from keep into deep, and it is carrying different meaning. The word deep has a meaning which is going or being a long way down from top or surface. So, if you change a phoneme in a word to another phoneme, it will change the meaning of the word. That's why a single phoneme could convey a meaning. The next thing that I am going to explain is about phones. Phones refer to the instances of phonemes in the actual utterances. They are the realization sound of phonemes. When you pronounce a phoneme, it becomes a phone. Phones are represented with brackets.
The last thing that I am going to explain is about allophones. Allophones are audibly distinct variations of phonemes. They are a set of possible spoken sounds used to pronounce one single phoneme. One phoneme could have several allophones. Allophones are represented with brackets. Here is the example of allophones. Th is a phoneme, but in the word top, the way we pronounce th is different to in the word stop. In the word top, we pronounce th with the puff of air, which is called aspirated, and in a strong way. But when we pronounce th in the word stop, there is no puff of air, and we tend to pronounce it in a weaker way, and that's called unaspirated. The and the are allophones of phonemes the. I think that's all of our explanation about the difference between phoneme, phones, and allophones. We hope that our explanation will help you to more understand. Thank you for watching and goodbye.